Hey there, Careblazers. Welcome back to the place where we talk about everything dementia. Dr. Natalie here, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about some ways to help get your loved one to take their medications when they don't want to, and how to do it without starting an argument every single time. If you're like many of the caregivers I know, trying to get your loved one to take their medications every day, several times a day, can feel like a constant battle. A lot of times their loved ones say, "What are these medications for?" And then when you explain to them, they say, "Well, I don't have those conditions," or "I don't need these medications." Maybe they just say, "I'm not taking any medications, I don't want to, nothing's wrong with me." Maybe they say nothing at all, and when you turn your head, those medications end up in the trash can. So if any of this sounds familiar, then today's video will be helpful for you. And if you are a caregiver who doesn't give your loved one their medications, maybe you live in a different place than them, stay tuned, because at the end I'll give you a tip for how you can check in and help remind your loved one to take their medications, and how you can encourage them to take their medications and set things up in a way where it's still safe and they're not making any mistakes. Tip number one for how to get your loved one to willingly take their medications every day is to develop a routine. Taking medications should not be an afterthought that you just do on a whim when you realize it's time to take medications. Stop and think about how you can make medication taking a routine part, how to fit it into your day, where you're going to do it, what times you're going to do it, in a way that best suits your lifestyle. People with dementia do best with routines, and so medication taking should absolutely be involved in that routine. For a lot of caregivers I know, they like to use pill boxes, where once a week they fill up all these slots in their pill boxes for giving their loved one medications, and then it makes it easier when it's time to give medications. They're not taking all these individual pill bottles, putting them out, getting the right medicines, because that can be kind of overwhelming if your loved one with dementia sees it. So it's a lot easier just to kind of open the right section, pour out the pills, and give them to their loved one. Also, a lot of the caregivers I work with, their loved ones are on pills at least 3 times a day. So they have to think about how to implement that into their daily life. And what makes most sense for a lot of them is just to do it around meal times. So with breakfast, lunch, and dinner for morning, noon, and night medications, finding ways to make it fit into your lifestyle pretty easily in a way that helps you remember pretty easily. If your loved one takes medications more than 3 times a day, then you might want to set some phone alarms so that it will remind you in the middle of the day when it's not with the meal time to help your loved one take the medications. So tip number one, develop a routine, make it that every day as much as possible so that your loved one comes to expect it. Tip number 2 has to do with setting the tone. When it comes to taking medications, you want to try to make it as calm of an environment as possible. So minimizing distractions, getting rid of the chaos, turning down TVs or turning them off, making sure there are other demands from little ones trying to get your attention. The more calm the atmosphere, the more likely your loved one is to take their medications. So if the morning medication routine never goes well, but it's also around the same time you're rushing out the door to get to work and you're looking for your keys and putting on your shoes, chances are high that medication taking isn't going to go very well. So as much as possible, make it as calm as possible, and remember that people with dementia, even when they can't process the words as well or as quickly, they're really picking up on your nonverbals. So if you're frantic or rushed or feeling frustrated and impatient, you're reducing the chance your loved one's going to take their medication, which is going to make everything longer in the long run. So just take that extra time to set as peaceful and as calm as an environment as possible. All right. So tip number 1, develop a routine. Tip number 2, set the scene. Tip number 3 has to do with giving your loved one the right amount of help. So we want to make sure that your loved one has the right amount of time they need to take their medications, as well as the right amount of assistance they need to take their medications. For most older adults with dementia, they're not taking a handful of their many pills, popping them in their mouth with a gulp of water, and going about their day. For a lot of them, it takes some time. Some of them might not like taking so many medications at once, and in that event, you might only want to hand them a few at a time. Some of them might need help to remember what to do, especially as the disease progresses. So even if they've been taking their medications fine for the last year or so, as the disease gets worse, you might need to give them some prompting, like, okay, here are your medications. Take this pill in your hand right now. All right, put it in your mouth, take this sip of water. You might have to coach them through. In some cases, you might actually have to lift the water glass to their mouth. So just keep in mind, just because they haven't had a problem before, if they start to have a problem, think about whether or not they might need some extra assistance. And then finally, truly keep in mind that the medication taking might take some time and won't be done quickly. And if the more you try to rush them, the chances are higher that they're going to just resist altogether and not want to take any of them. Okay, tip number 4 is to keep open communication with your loved one's doctor and pharmacist. So when it comes to pill taking, first of all, there's so many older adults with dementia who are on a ton of pills, and some of them aren't really even necessary anymore. What happens is that, a lot of times providers and even family members, they're so focused on the new symptom or the new medical condition that they want to treat that they sometimes don't stop and take the time to think about everything that they've been on for years and years and years that they may no longer need. So you always want to be bringing up that question whenever you're talking with your loved one's doctor or pharmacist. Are all of these medications still necessary? Are there any medications we can get rid of? Because the fewer medications your loved one takes, the better chances that medication taking is going to go well. Also, sometimes people with dementia or just older adults in general, they have a hard time swallowing. And some of these medications are approved to be crushed, or they can be split in half, or they could also be available in liquid form. So if you're having a really hard time getting your loved one to take medications, you might want to talk to your doctor and pharmacist about which medications are available in a liquid form, which one of these can be cut in half, which ones can be crushed. This can also help the medication taking routine a ton. When your loved one does not want to take their medications and they're constantly asking questions or saying they don't want to or putting up a fight, the worst thing you can do is to try to argue, rationalize, or reason with them. So again, we did a video on that, right? About the 3 things to never do with your loved one who has dementia. Medication taking time is not the place to try them. So that's going to make your situation worse all the time. Instead, we want to find ways to respond to their comments or questions in the simplest, shortest way possible and see what that does to them. So I'll go over some specific situations that caregivers I know have used to help make the medication taking much better. So I was talking to a caregiver recently, and she was telling me the most frustrating part of her day is when she tries to give her husband medications 3 times a day. So 3 times a day is the most frustrating part of her day, and it's something that happens every single day. She was telling me that when she gives her husband the medications, he's constantly asking, what's this one for? What's this one for? What's this one for? And she was taking her time in explaining to him what each of those medications was for. And then he would think, well, I don't have that condition, I don't need these medications. So then all that time was taken for it to end badly. So typically providing detailed explanations to your loved one with dementia about what those medications are for is not necessary. Now, if you do it and your loved one accepts it, that's fine. Perfect. Keep doing it. But for the people watching this video, I have a feeling it's not going over that smoothly for you. So you want to try to find the shortest, simplest responses to their questions and not necessarily provide the detailed answer to their questions. Here's a couple of examples of how you could respond in similar situations if your loved one's constantly asking about why they need to take the medicines. So come up with simple responses such as, this is going to make you feel better. Take your medication so then we can go watch a movie. Saying things like, this is what the doctor told you have to take, or these medications help to make you healthy, or these are your vitamins. any type of these short, simple responses could be just what you need in order to get your loved one to stop focusing on the reason of taking the medicines and get him or her more likely to take them. Now, another tip that could really help with medication taking is if you take your medications alongside your loved one with dementia. This will help them not feel so singled out or like something's wrong with them or that they're the only ones who take these medicines. So especially if your loved one's saying, nothing's wrong with me, I don't need these, you could give a response like, oh, these are vitamins to help keep you healthy, or these are medications to help keep you doing so well, I take some too. And then you guys can make it a routine where you're both taking the medications together. If you don't have medications, maybe you actually have some multivitamins or something you can take. And if you don't take vitamins, you could just pull out some candy, Skittles, M&Ms, whatever you think you can get away with, and take those at the same time your loved one's taking their medication, so that it's more likely that they're gonna take theirs because it's not an unusual thing where only they're doing it. If your loved one's upset that they have to take so many, like I mentioned before, try giving them 1 or 2 pills at a time, spread out the medication taking time over an hour, and give them 1 or 2 medications every 10-15 minutes or so. That could help. And if your loved one just simply refuses, is having one of those days that no matter what you say, your loved one's not going to take them, simply walk away. Get into something else, start doing something fun with your loved one. 15-30 minutes later, when they seem to be in a good mood, when you're feeling calm, you can try to approach it again. But if they're being really insistent and you are trying to say things and they just keep getting more and more upset, that's usually a time to kind of back off and try again later instead of continuing at it, because that can make things a lot worse. So to do a quick recap, develop a medication taking routine. Make sure you and your loved one are calm and that you have plenty of time to give the medications. Offer them the right amount of help they need to take their medications. Keep in touch with their doctor and pharmacist for any medication changes that can help, whether it's getting rid of medications altogether or finding ways like crushing their medications so they don't even know they're getting them. And finally, and most importantly, avoid any attempts to argue, reason, or rationalize with your loved one when it comes to taking medication. Short, simple responses to their comments and questions are the best response. As a bonus tip for all you Careblazers out there that might be doing a little more long distance caregiving or don't visit your loved one daily to help give them their medications, some of the things that other Careblazers do is just to give a daily call to their loved one, or even a call multiple times a day to their loved one around the time that they're supposed to take their medication. They might just check in and say, hey Dad, how you doing? What are you doing today? I'm just getting off work, or I'm taking, Johnny to a baseball game. Oh, hey, I think it's time for your medication. Have you taken that yet today? Work it into the conversation, as a gentle reminder to take their medication. For some people who you might feel uncomfortable with your loved one having medications available and open to them because they get confused, might take the wrong one or might take too many of one, there are automatic pill dispensing machines that lock so that your loved one can't get access to all of the pills, but at the right time of day you schedule it, pills will pop out, little alarm will go off, and then they have just the right amount of medications that they're supposed to be taking. So that can help give you a little peace of mind if you are worried about your loved one taking their medications the right way when you're not around. If your loved one is maybe more in the mild stages and able to pretty much handle their medications, you could consider just setting up a weekly pill box for them so that if you happen to go over there once a week, you could just check their pill boxes to make sure that all of the pills are gone in the right days. That can give you a good indication if they're taking their medications. Although I just recently was talking to somebody with dementia and they were savvy enough to know about the pill box checking routine and ended up just throwing away their medications instead of taking them every day. So their loved one thought they were doing really well taking all their medications, and it just came to be that the person was throwing them away. So it's not a foolproof method, but it is something to consider trying. All right, Careblazers, you got this. Keep up the good work. I hope this video has been helpful to you in some way. Let me know what tip is most helpful to you from this video and what other things you might be doing to help get your loved one to take their medication. Remember, I have a free Careblazers survival guide you can sign up for in the link below. I also just recently started a Facebook group, or not a group, but a Facebook page where you can get more of a behind the scenes look of what I do here at Careblazers and get some more insider self-care tips. I'll put the link to that as well below in the description, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Till then, take care, Careblazers, of yourself and of your loved one with dementia.